Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Over and Buried podcast. We are officially on the road to WrestleMania 42. So, what better way than to take on the challenge 42 days, 42 WrestleManias? I came up with the idea because there were plenty of WrestleManias throughout the years that I haven't yet seen. So, to learn from the rich history of the Showcase of the Immortals perennial event is what I will set out to do here. Due to the pandemic, WWE started the two-night WrestleMania event since 2020. So obviously, we need more than 42 days here to complete this challenge. I ended up putting this into Copilot in order to make myself a schedule, as this is a huge undertaking and time commitment, trying to balance both work, life, and still keeping up with the weekly episodic wrestling shows. In my lifetime, I've been to two WrestleManias in person. First being WrestleMania 35 at MetLife Stadium in East Rutherford, New Jersey, and secondly, being WrestleMania 40 at Lincoln Financial Field in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, which I will hold firm at being the greatest WrestleMania of all time and likely will be the best WrestleMania that I will ever see in the span of my lifetime. But what do I know? I'm biased, right? Even these two WrestleManias that I went to in person, I've never fully watched back, so to see these from an on screen perspective, I'm really excited for this. If you're bold enough to take on the challenge with me, follow along for all the matches and the moments throughout the years. The inaugural WrestleMania event took place on March 31st, 1985, from the world's most famous arena, Madison Square Garden. MSG at the time proved to be a stronghold for the WWE or WWF at the time, and previously before that, WWF, as the home arena, earning itself, the mecca of wrestling. The official attendance record for WrestleMania 1 totaled 19,121 spectators in the stands, as well as this was seen by over 1 million viewers via closed circuit TV at this point in time. Now, what is closed circuit TV, one might ask? Cameras that capture the event transmit the footage to a finite specific number of locations across the US in order to view the product, which is vastly different than public broadcasting the product itself. Some homes at the time had the ability to get that on demand, pay-per-view style, but it was not as widespread. And now, why was this significant? It was a risky play by Vince McMahon. Vince bet the farm on WrestleMania. He put up his personal finances into the event, and the company was hemorrhaging money at that point in time. If WrestleMania 1 failed, the company would have surely gone bankrupt. The cost of the expansion from breaking away from the traditional regional territories, signing top talent at that point in time, like Hulk Hogan, this was a significant financial burden for WWF that they couldn't bear not having a solid performance for WrestleMania 1. So this was a make it or break it for WWF. So let's get into the match card and all of the results of WrestleMania 1. The very first match in WrestleMania history, something that no one can ever take from them, is Tito Santana versus the Executioner, where Tito Santana gets the victory. During the match, we get the quote from Jesse the Body Ventura from the announce desk: Woodstock was to rock and roll as WrestleMania is to wrestling, giving the legitimacy to WrestleMania from the commentary team. Tito throws a phenomenal forearm, if you will, against the Executioner and then puts him into a figure four leg lock. The ref then calls for the bell, earning Tito the victory. A couple of call outs here. When Fink did the ring introductions, he'd call out the time limits for, 20-minute time limits for the matches, which I know in AEW routinely incorporates today. I also couldn't help but to laugh just how loose the ring ropes were at this point in time. Next on the card, we had King Kong Bundy, accompanied by the Mouth of the South, Jimmy Hart. He defeated Special Delivery SD Jones. Referring to the sheer size of Bundy, Gorilla Monsoon calls out, "Look at that cranium." Bundy immediately hits an avalanche into the corner and splashes SD Jones, covering him for a record-setting 9-second victory. This was the first squash match in WrestleMania, if you will. This were booked to give credence to Bundy in looking unstoppable, elevating his character and the stakes of future matches for him to come. Ricky the Dragon Steamboat defeats the Maniac Matt Bourne. Before the match, Bourne was saying that Ricky was way too nice in his backstage promo. Steamboat was on the offensive with a few knife edge karate chops, which were highly emphasized as a move here. Steamboat then gets the flying crossbody onto the top rope, gets the 1-2-3 victory. David Sammartino, accompanied by his father, the only living legend in wrestling at the time, Bruno Sammartino, went up against Brutus Beefcake, who had luscious Johnny Valiant in his quarter. This actually ended in a double disqualification. While Bruno was no longer the main event star in his appearance in WrestleMania 1, it was significant because it really bridged the two eras in wrestling history together and bring familiarity to more of those old school fans during Bruno's era with the new school fans that we were getting into of the golden age at this point in time. During the match, Bruno Sammartino gets into it. He gets into the mix. After Luscious Johnny scoop power slams David onto the outside of the ring, onto the concrete, the ref calls for the bell, disqualifying both teams. The Workhorses Championship was the first title defense at WrestleMania 1 in an Intercontinental Championship bout between Greg the Hammer Valentine, accompanied by Jimmy Hart, versus JYD Junkyard Dog. This match ended in Greg Valentine being counted out by the referee. I thought it was an interesting finish that they did this right after the double disqualification match. Valentine accidentally hit Jimmy Hart, and then Valentine pinning JYD, putting both of his legs up on the rope um, for the victory that the referee didn't actually see. We get Tito Santana coming out to the ring in his street clothes, talking to the ref. The ref then counts out Greg Valentine and then awards the victory to JYD. The title didn't change hands as a result of this match, as we know that the champion needs to be pinned or submitted. So, unfortunate for JYD that he did not win the belt, but did secure the victory at WrestleMania 1. It's interesting to see the progression of how title designs have evolved throughout the years. At this point in time, the Intercontinental Championship had that green strap that I didn't know of previously. I also didn't know that Junkyard Dog was from Charlotte, North Carolina, so I popped pretty big when I heard that. Nikolai Volkov and the Iron Sheik, accompanied by classy Freddie Blassie, defeated Mike Rotunda and Barry Windham to become the new WWF World Tag Team Champions. Sheik ended up climbing onto the apron, using Freddie's cane on Barry Windham while the refs backwards turned. Volkov then goes for the pin, picking up the victory to become the new tag team champions. This is the first time in WrestleMania history that a title changed hands, so that's a very significant moment there. And this was the style of booking back then, right? Where we made the foreigners the heels, with Volkov being from the Soviet Union and Iron Sheik being from Iran. Sometimes this methodology still remains today in booking in WWE. Take a guy like Gunther. If he were around in the 80s, he probably would have main evented probably three different WrestleManias with Hulk Hogan, being a top heel of that era. With Gunther's presentation, his old school in-ring style, he would have been a top heel of that era, undoubtedly. The eighth wonder of the world, Andre the Giant, went up against Big John Studd, who was accompanied by Bobby the Brain Heenan, in a challenge for a slam match for $15,000. In a back and forth contest, Andre eventually slams Studd to the mat. He then grabs the bag full of money and starts throwing handfuls into the stands, but with his back turned to his opponent, he gets the bag stolen from him. I didn't realize actually how big Big John Studd was until I saw him standing face to face with Andre the Giant. I had to look it up that he were 6'10", but I did think it was a good pairing with these two in this style of match, showcasing that it's not for a title, but for some sort of reward at the end of the day, right? We had the women's championship match where Wendy Richter, accompanied by Cyndi Lauper, defeated Kailani Kai with Fabulous Moolah in her corner to become the new champion. Leilani should have been disqualified at least twice during that match. Moolah getting involved with the referee looking right at her, that would have been one. But Kai goes for the crossbody. Wendy rolls over her and gets the pinfall victory to become the new champion. Leading up to the main event, we had the guest ring announcer, Billy Martin, part of the Yankees championship team back in the 50s, and led the team to consecutive American League pennants in 1976 and 77 as a manager of the team. His only World Series championship as a manager in 1977 came against the Dodgers, and this World Series became legendary for Reggie Jackson's iconic 3 home run performance in Game 6 of that World Series that year. We also had the legendary performer Liberace escorted down to the ring by the iconic Rockettes as a celebrity guest timekeeper. At the height of his career, he was the highest paid entertainer in the entire world. We also had the greatest of all time and global icon Muhammad Ali introduced as the special guest referee for this bout. In the main event, we had Hulk Hogan and Mr. T, accompanied by Jimmy Superfly Snuka, got the victory over Rowdy Roddy Piper and Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff, that were accompanied by Cowboy Bob Orton. So, how did we get to the main event of WrestleMania 1? We had manager Captain Lou Albano actually meeting Cyndi Lauper, and he ended up being featured in a music video for Girls Just Want to Have Fun. This opened the door for the WWF to cross promote with MTV. RIP, unfortunately, further pushing professional wrestling into the mainstream media. At the brawl to end it all, we saw Wendy Richter being accompanied by Cyndi Lauper, where she defeated Moolah. Later at the War to Settle the Score, Lauper again made another appearance, but this time Mr. T, starring in the A-Team show, was also ringside as Hulk Hogan battled Roddy Piper. The catalyst for this main event was Roddy Piper's heel turn on his talk show Piper's Pit, where he famously hit Jimmy Snuka with a coconut. So this established him as a top heel in the industry. Piper became targeting the Rock and Wrestling Connection, which was a partnership between the WWF and MTV featuring Cyndi Lauper. So this brought him into the conflict with Hulk Hogan. At the War to Settle the Score on February 18th, 1985, Hogan faced Piper. The match ended in a disqualification when Piper and Orndorff attacked Hogan, and this brought Mr. T, who was in the crowd, to defend Hogan. So in order to attract the mainstream audience, Vince booked this tag team match, Hulk Hogan and Mr. T with Jimmy Snuka in their corner versus Piper, Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff, and Cowboy Bob Orton. And just leading up into WrestleMania, Hulk Hogan actually appeared on a show called Hot Properties, where he put host Richard Belzer in a hold that caused him to faint. I think he actually busted open his head as well. And I think they actually settled out of court. So that was some bad PR for the WWF. And I think that was the night before WrestleMania, if I'm not mistaken. Hogan and Mr. T also hosted Saturday Night Live, so that gave some also mainstream media attention to WWF. We had Gorilla Monsoon hyping up Mr. T that he was living on tuna fish and water for the last few weeks. Leading up to the finish of this match, Mr. T thwarts Piper from bashing Hogan from behind, while Orndorff had Hogan in a full Nelson. So Piper was the illegal man at that point in time. We had Cowboy Bob Orton selling the hell out of the headbutt that Jimmy Snuka gave him. He fell all the way outside of the ring, but then immediately climbs back up to the top turnbuckle, which was quite funny. He goes to hit Hogan with his cast that he had on his arm at the time, but accidentally hits Mr. Wonderful. So Hogan moves out of the way and covers him for the 1-2-3 victory. So we do get the feel-good moment of Hogan and Mr. T with their hands being raised. Keep in mind, WrestleMania is about making moments, and this main event lived up to the hype for sure. WrestleMania 1 was truly the event where sports entertainment was born, bringing eyeballs to the product, bringing in athletes, singers, entertainers. Mainstream forms of entertainment converged into professional wrestling, invoking emotion, involving the psychology, the storytelling, etc. This was the vision that Vince McMahon originally had, pun intended, right? Also, if there's anything we learned from WrestleMania 1, it's that tag team matches could main event a WrestleMania. Look at WrestleMania 40 Night 1 when The Rock teamed up with Roman Reigns, taking on Cody Rhodes and Seth Rollins. At 39, we had Sami and Kevin Owens defeating the Usos to become the undisputed tag team champions. So we can book top tag teams in the industry to showcase their talent in this form of tag team wrestling. While going all in on this event, WrestleMania 1 truly lived up to the hype. I think it showcased a lot of the top talent of the day, from Hulk Hogan to Andre the Giant to Ricky Steamboat, just to name a few. Showcased really the top heels in the industry at that point in time, which everyone needs their dance partner, right? WrestleMania 1 was truly a huge success and laid the foundation for a perennial event that is now coming up on 42 consecutive years. That is a feat within itself. If it wasn't for the influence of mainstream media and pop culture intertwining itself within professional wrestling, the sport would likely be a small niche of what it is compared to the global industry that it is today. If you've enjoyed this video and want to see more, please consider subscribing and hitting that like button to support the channel. Let me know what your favorite moment is from WrestleMania 1. Thank you for the house, and I'll see you in the next one as we take on WrestleMania 2 in the challenge.
There's no middle ground. Go over